18.1% of our way to our goal on the special Charity Tuesday, raising money for pious projects. They do emergency relief, clean water, food. They build shelters. They seem like a pretty solid charity. It's a charity Rosa Tawil recommended on her Facebook or Twitter post earlier, and I looked them up, and they're available. So we're doing a special Charity Tuesday just for them to hopefully help folks who are victims of this heinous earthquake. It's bad. I wouldn't doubt if we see numbers similar to what we saw out of the earthquake in Haiti in 2010. A lot of buildings collapsed. There isn't enough rescue workers to pick through the rubble and rescue people. So there's going to be a lot in the recovery process for these folks. So there's not the strictest building codes, and a lot of these buildings were not built to withstand such a huge shallow earthquake. It's the type of earthquake that would hit Seattle along the Seattle fault. Like it's a surface fault. So 7.8, 7.9 from the surface would absolutely just level everything. Most big earthquakes happen, 15, 30, 40 miles down. The suckers are right at the surface. And, shake for 2-3 minutes. Just incredible destruction. So I want to thank everybody who's donating. And who knows if we can get to our $1,000 goal, because we already had Charity Tuesday last week. And I know money's tight. But if you can donate, thank you so much, and let's help these folks recover from something that's just unthinkable. I was listening to As It Happens last night, and they were on the phone with survivors, and it's just horrendous, Like, they're interviewing this poor guy, and he's standing outside the building where his grandparents are, and the building's collapsed. And the home next door was the home of his best friend, and they managed to pull the bodies out and his best friend, and they didn't have a vehicle to take them, so they had to put him in the shovel of an excavator and take him to the morgue that way. And they just weren't enough people left over to help recover his grandparents, and it's just gnarly, man. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So helping donate today helps these folks get relief, closure, survive. So thank you for getting in there. Dan Margelo, thank you so much. Okay. It's gnarly. Should we go look at the map? Let's look at the map, and we can kind of discuss what's going on there. Okay. So come on, there we go. Zoom out. Leave my home. Fly across the world. Okay. So it's a little hard to see, but we do have couple plates coming together. We've got this African plate, and we've got Europe sort of collapsing together, and then we've got the Eurasian plate, and there's a crossroads basically happening for these fault zones that split right through Istanbul and the Bosphorus Strait here between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. But down south, we've got other things happening. We have the Rift Zone, the East African Rift Zone that starts way down here in Southern Africa. And this is where Africa is trying to split apart, and it's basically making a new continent and can eventually create an ocean between East Africa and West Africa. There'll be an ocean forming here, but this passes all the way up. All the way up through the Red Sea, and you can see where the spreading ridge is in the Red Sea. So this is just like the spreading ridge happening in the Atlantic that's spreading the Atlantic apart, and this spreading ridge goes all the way up through the border between Israel and Jordan, so like the Dead Sea and the Sea of Galilee, and all those are found along here, and passes all the way up through to sort of where the connecting point is between these essentially three continents in the center of Turkey. And you can see sort of the curve in the rock where these continents are merging together. And in southern Turkey, in this area here, we've got a huge fault zone making these mountains to the north, and a huge fault zone doing these mountains in the south. They're sort of coming off of the impact of these three continents as they push together, and it makes for very, very shallow surface faults in this whole area here. And when I say shallow surface faults, I mean like the faults can be visible at the surface, and so when the Earth rumbles, when it moves, when it shifts side to side, or they smush together, The shaking is insanely intense. Uh, you don't want to see a surface earthquake. The earthquake that happened in Haiti in 2010 was a surface quake, 7 point something, and it killed what 500,000 people. Absolutely just gnarly. So you might get huge quakes like these subduction zone quakes in Chile or Japan that push 9.0 on the scale, but they happen deep and usually offshore. So the biggest danger from those are from the tsunami that washes in, and not from the shaking itself. I mean, the shaking can cause damage and things like that, but the communities are usually 100 miles or so away. Plus, it happens at a deep depth down the ocean. These fault zones pass right through these communities, and you can see these faults. Like this one in the north here, you can see it. There's a fault right there. This line passes right through here. That is a fault zone. That's a surface fault. And down south, you can see the fault zone right here. This is the fault that triggered that earthquake, and is right at the surface. So you could be looking at all sorts of devastation. I saw images of a castle that was built in like 2500 BC, and it's leveled. The thing been around for 5,000 years, and it got taken down by this earthquake. So this is a very unique, special circumstance that I mean, these places are seismically active, but to have a quake this size at the surface just does insane amounts of damage. And then you got like Syria, and Syria is I mean they've been in the middle of a 10-year-long civil war. So eastern Syria, you've got the Kurds, you have the white helmets, you have a lot of people who are used to going through rubble. So at least they've got a whole bunch of experience, folks who are able to recover, and folks in collapsed buildings. Turkey, not so much. And a lot of the emergency services are down. The roads, bridges are out. It's hard for a lot of people to get into these areas right now. So it's gnarly. The images that are coming out are just apocalyptic. I my heart breaks for these people. And I know that Seattle's due for a similar quake at some point, and I just hope I'm not around for when it happens. Girk's Ice Cream Danwich, thank you so much. Jumping in there, $336, 33.6% of the way to our goal here, and let's help these folks out. They are in big trouble, and they definitely need it. Jeff Markley, I read the entire landmass of Turkey moved 3 meters. I wouldn't doubt it. When the Sumatran earthquake happened, the entire island of Sumatra moved like 100 feet, like 30 meters. Like the islands went dunk and just moved 30 meters after that earthquake. So having Turkey move that far, I wouldn't doubt that at all. The Earth is very powerful. When it wants to move things in a hurry, it can do it. Yeah.